How you all doing? How you all doing? Hold on one second. Let me fix the lighting in here. Okay. Hold on, hold on. Okay. Here we go. I forgot the lights. How you all doing out there? Frankie Russo pre-show number 81. Over here at 77 WABC. Yeah, yeah. Okay. America's team dot today. Join America's team and get a t-shirt. RussoNation.tv. Join America's team and get a t-shirt. You got to do this, okay? We're going to make this happen. America's team, we're coming. The Americans are coming. You better believe it. Okay, so I'm sorry about last week's pre-show. I don't know what happened with the audio, but it looks like the audio is working good tonight because I get the audio off the camera. Obviously, this is not a live show. It's a live show. I mean, it's a live show, meaning over the internet. It's not a live show over the radio, broadcast. So, with my pre-show, I like to talk about some serious topics. It's very important, and to let everybody understand the premise of this pre-show is what's the biggest threat to our way of life. One, as we talk about every week, is the global economy. It's a problem. Global debt, a problem. I believe it's going to implode. Next week is the beginning. From this point forward, from now to the end of September, October, it's very conceivable that this whole thing, this whole system just collapses. And it's not going to be pretty. We're looking at a depression on steroids. Hyperinflation is right in front of us. Okay? So that being the case, we don't have, because a crash is something where nobody sees, nobody expects. So it isn't like, oh, okay, here it is, the statistical significant data to show this crash is happening at this point in time. It don't work that way, because if it happened, it wouldn't be a crash. So being that said, to me, the other threat, this is my opinion, and I believe I'm statistically significant. I have data within the standard deviation of the classified documents. This is my quasi model, and I believe that I can predict with much certainty that I'm accurate with my predictions. I think so. Moving forward, the radical Islamists pose the greatest threat to our way of life besides the collapse of the United States economy. Okay, so that's where I'm starting, and now I'm going to move into the things I spoke about last week. I'm moving this thing forward. Okay. Now, just to give you an idea, this is the global terror network headed by Iran. All right? You got the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, Quds Force, General Soleimani. Let's talk about them a little bit. I just want to give everybody a little background information so you have a little more understanding of what we're dealing with. Okay? Now, according to the counterextremism.com, they have a PDF called the IRGC Threat Report. This is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Threat Report. Now, they talk about, for example, the Quds Force, which is the special forces of the IRGC, Iranian Revolutionary Guard, is a special branch of the IRGC tasked with achieving sensitive missions beyond Iran's borders. The Quds Force has played an active role in providing training and weapons to extremist groups, including Iraqi insurgents, Lebanese, Hezbollah, and others. The group's commander is Major General Soleimani. In addition to overseeing the group's violent attacks, Soleimani serves as he has direct communication with the Ayatollah Khomeini. Okay? Reportedly using a combination of violence. He used a combination. Wait. What happened here? Combination of violence. I don't know what happened to my thing. Hold up, let me 1 second. I had a little computer crash. Oh, there we go. Okie dokie, Smokey. Sorry, Pete. I just, these things, computer crashes sometimes, and we got it. Okie dokes. I got where I was. So, okay, so in addition to overseeing the group's violent attacks, Soleimani, as we said a few seconds ago, reports directly to Khomeini and reportedly using a combination of violence and bribes to garner enormous political influence over neighboring Iraq. He is also said to coordinate much of Iran's support for the Ba'ath regime and Syrian civil war, which is Assad. They give $6 billion to Assad, just so you know, a year. Well, I said six, and then the Washington Free Beacon Congressional Research Service claimed 3.5 billion to 15 billion. So it's in that range. The 6 billion I got from Kenneth Tillman. He's the gentleman that wrote the book Dark Forces: The Truth Behind Benghazi. So his investigative reporting is top notch as well. So Soleimani, the general of the Quds Force, has tremendous influence in the regions outside of Iran. In general, according to this PDF, the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard threat by the counterextremism.com, it'll come. It'll eventually. The IRGC is the third wealthiest organization in Iran after the National Iranian Oil Company. Due to its vast wealth, the IRGC is able to use a very simple recruitment tactic: money. The IRGC attracts young men by paying them up to $265 a month. The Quds Force operate under the IRGC and are responsible for the bulk of the umbrella organization's recruitment. Both and also have developed an organized method of enrollment and training, this Quds Force. The Quds Force strategically place recruiters near holy sites, mosques, schools, community centers to attract volunteers. The IRGC also trains foreign fighters from groups like Hezbollah and Hamas. This document is so well sourced, it's just like unbelievable. Now, the training of the Quds Force is a special unit, as we mentioned earlier, of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard that oversees weapons and training. And General Soleimani, the commander of the Quds Force, basic training can last anywhere from 3 to 9 months. It takes place at 3 main facilities in Iran. The first is the Ayman Ali base near Tehran, which specializes in ground training for foreign fighters. The second is the Ashia base in Shawitz. And the third is the Jerusalem Operation College in Qom. Because obviously the goal, I'm just looking down the road, is to invade Jerusalem, I'm assuming, right? Quds Force is considered Jerusalem. That's some sort of, it's language. I don't know exactly, but it means Jerusalem. It's my understanding. Crazy stuff. So Jerusalem Operation College in Qom, where trainees study spirituality and ideology. There are other smaller training facilities throughout the country that are used to train armed guards from foreign countries as well. I just think that this cuts. They're. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but I think they want to invade Jerusalem. I think that's something that they want to do down the road. I don't know. Something that comes to me. I don't know. But the Quds Force sets up a recruitment offices near Islamic holy sites to attract a wide variety of devout people from many nationalities throughout the Muslim world, including Saudi Arabia, Syria, and Iraq. The most important recruitment office is the Dar al Tawhid in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Tawhid, Dar al Tawhid Hotel in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Okay, I got it right. The Quds Force helps operate the training center in Iran near the holy city of Qom. And this training center recruits from a pool of foreign students studying in a nearby religious seminary. The Quds Force also recruits in Iraq, and they pay the Iraqi Shiites up to $150 a month to go to Iran to train. Now, this is interesting right here. According to this document, the threat of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, it's a PDF, you can get it online, counterextremism.com. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps has a budget of approximately 1.7 billion, according to from 2013 to 2014. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard is also Iran's most powerful economic actor, according to the United States Treasury Department. I'm reading right from this PDF, which labeled the National Iranian Oil Company an agent or affiliate of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And it's my understanding the lady, the congressman from I think Florida, she herself and Herman Berman, Democrat, and 207 House representatives have sent a letter to the president. I couldn't find the letter urging the president to sanction the National Iranian Oil Company for its affiliation, designating the National Iranian Oil Company a terrorist entity for its affiliation with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. Now, within the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the Quds Force exerts control over strategic industries, commercial services, and black market enterprises. So it's really interesting how this is a sophisticated, very sophisticated outfit, this Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the Quds Force. According to a 2007, this is right from the article, right from the PDF. According to a 2007 Los Angeles Times report, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, that's GUARD, has ties to over 100 companies controlling over $12 billion. Crazy. These funds are used to exert influence in Iran and Iranian proxies. We'll talk about Iranian proxies in a minute. According to this Raymond Taki of the Council of Foreign Relations, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps is heavily involved in everything from pharmaceuticals to telecommunications and pipelines. Even the new Imam Khomeini Airport and a great deal of smuggling. Many of the front companies engaged in procuring nuclear technology are owned and run by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. They're developing along the lines of the Chinese military, which is involved in many business enterprises and a huge business conglomeration. Wow. So that gives you a little background of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Quds Force. Okay? Now, my computer's crashing on me a little bit, so please bear with me. Okay, and I got this other one. This is the one I want. I was talking about last week. So I'm going to move forward now. I just gave you a little general outline. I'm going over stuff over and over and over because this way people can see I'm giving specific information. I don't get a chance to do this on the live show. I enjoy this. Okay. back to the outline. Now, this is the global terror network headed by Iran, and we just went over the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, Quds Force, General Soleimani. Now, we're going to talk about Al Qaeda Iran connection, Hamas Iran connection, Hezbollah Iran connection, and Afghan Taliban connection. And this is what I'm going to say. Okay? What constitutes a proxy? What constitutes a proxy? There's this supposed Sunni Shiite divide. And there's some clear evidence that there is one. But according to the Iranian, and we discussed this, the Iran and the 9/11 case, it's come out, I think, 2011, 2012, something like that, that Iran was behind the attacks of 9/11. According to the district judge, ruled in favor of the plaintiffs, the families of the victims of these terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001, that Iran was behind these attacks. They materially supported the Afghan Taliban before, they used, this is the language of the judge, before, during, and after the attacks on September 11, 2001 World Trade Center. So, and he ruled in favor of $6 billion damages, $6 billion in damages to the plaintiffs, to the families of the victims of these terrorist attacks. Unbelievable, right? So in that complaint, there was two witnesses, there's two like expert witnesses, Claire M. Lopez and Dr. Bruce Teft. They both were engaged by the FBI as undercover operations officers and supervisors for over 25 years each. So there's 50 years in the CIA, they're both combined. While currently retired, both are privately retained by various federal contractors engaged in intelligence gathering and security matters. Specifically, Bruce Teft has been found to be certified as an expert in United States District Courts in Washington, D.C. in approximately 7 different cases involving terrorism by Iran and Libya. Lopez and Teft conclude in their affidavits that the material support provided by Iran, Hezbollah to Al Qaeda both before and after the September 11th involved, among other matters, planning, recruitment, training, financial services, expert advice and assistance, lodging, safe houses, false documentation and identification, communication equipment, facilities, weapons, lethal substances, explosives, personnel, and travel facilitation. Wow. Claire Lopez and Dr. Bruce Teft also concluded that with regard to the September 11th attacks, Iranian travel facilitation enabled 8 to 14 muscle hijackers to acquire needed Saudi passports and U.S. visas through ensuring their continued training in Afghanistan, the Afghan Taliban, and access to the United States. This travel facilitation I'm reading right from the complaint. This travel facilitation to and from Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Afghanistan was a vital link in a 9/11 conspiracy and an indispensable aspect of the terrorist success. Lopez and Teft conclude that the Iranian Al-Qaeda joint terror attacks against the United States were preceded by the Crowbar Towers bombing in 1996. This was in Saudi Arabia, and they just found this guy 20 years later, one of the perpetrators. the twin bombing of two United States embassies in Africa in 1998, the boat suicide bombings of the destroyer USS Cole off the coast of Yemen in 2000. Lopez and Teft further conclude that Hezbollah and its terror operations chief provided explosives, operational planning, and training support for all of these Al Qaeda attacks against America. This is the Iranian Al Qaeda joint terror attacks. So, right now, we've already tied in Iran Al Qaeda, Iran Hezbollah, Al Qaeda. Just in this particular instance of this transaction, this unfortunate September 11th attack on America. Claire Lopez and Dr. Bruce Teft conclude their sworn affidavit by saying, "We are convinced that the overwhelming evidence assembled in this affidavit leaves no doubt that Al Qaeda and the official Iranian regime at the highest levels have been acting in concert to plot and execute attacks against the United States since early 1990s. The Pan-Islamic alliance that was forged across the supposed Sunni Shiite divide has been directed by the Iranian mullahs in close cooperation with Osama bin Laden, Ayman al-Zawahiri, and other top al-Qaeda leaders." Lopez and Teft declare that the Al-Qaeda Iranian alliance was responsible for all of the most significant attacks against United States national interests from 1990s up to and including the attacks of September 11th. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So this is pretty compelling. This is statistically significant, so And Lopez and Claire Lopez and Dr. Teff state it is their expert opinion to a reasonable degree of professional certainty that the Iranian regime's use of terror and specifically its material support of Al-Qaeda and terroristic attacks, including 9/11, is beyond question. Truth be told. The truth be told. So, we have statistical data without even moving forward with this for Al-Qaeda-Iran connection, Hamas-Iran, according to Washington Free Beacon, the Washington Free Beacon Congressional Research Service, Iran sends Hamas tens of millions of dollars. Okay. Hezbollah, Iran, the 9/11 case we talked about in there, the connection with Hezbollah, Iran, and Al Qaeda, and now the Afghan Taliban. I'm going to do it right now. The Afghan Taliban, we're winding down. I did a lot of this last week, but unfortunately, I'm pretty certain that this audio was recording, and I had a problem with the audio, so I wasn't able to post it. I'm hoping everything's working out good now. I think it is. It looks good. I'm looking at the computer. Everything's looking good. Iran backs Taliban with cash and arms. Shiite Tehran has quietly boosted ties with the Sunni militant group and is now recruiting and training its officers. According to Abdul, a Taliban commander in central Afghanistan, when he needs more rifles and ammunition, he turns to the same people who pay his $580 a month salary, his Iranian sponsors. Iran supplies us with whatever we need, according to Abdul, the Taliban commander in central Afghanistan. So, Wall Street Journal reported it. Statistical significant? Absolutely. So, here's what I'm going to say now. Iranian proxies. The synonym for proxies is surrogate. I'm going to call them Iranian surrogates. In other words, Iran gives you money, Iran gives you arms, you're fronting for Iran. That's it, right? Iran gives Syria, Assad, according to Kenneth Timmerman, according to Washington Free Beacon, according to the Congressional Research Service, between 3.5 billion and 15 billion annually. We talked about earlier, and I have documentation, and I spoke about it in the counterterrorism.com, the threat of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. In their document, they talk about training, and there's also in these other documents I have from the Free Beacon, training and rockets to Hamas. And according to the Washington Free Beacon and the Congressional Research Service, not only rockets, but tens of millions of dollars. They are an Iranian surrogate. They're fronting for Hamas is fronting for Iran. You might as well say that Hamas is Iran. Truth be told. Now we did the Al Qaeda thing. 9/11 proves it unequivocally. The Iranian connection with Al Qaeda and the Iranian connection with Hezbollah. And we talked about the Iranian connection with Hamas and the Iranian connection with Afghan Taliban. We just talked about. The Wall Street Journal article proves that. And the Afghan Taliban was the perpetrators. It was a multiple group, but the Afghan Taliban was involved with this 9/11 situation as well. So they, at worst, created the safe haven for Osama bin Laden and the other cohorts that he had with him. Ayman al-Zawahiri, Osama bin Laden, and others. Afghan Taliban was involved, working in conjunction with Iran and Al Qaeda, which was Osama bin Laden, Ayman al-Zawahiri. I mentioned in the counter extremism, and definitely in the Iran 9/11 case.com. So that's that with that. So those are those connections over here. Al Qaeda, Iran, Hamas, Iran, Hezbollah, Iran, Afghan Taliban, Iran. We talked about the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, Quds Force, General Soleimani, Global Terror Network headed by Iran. Now, we got over here Alevi Foundation, that's the Corporation Bank Melli of Iran. We spoke about this. That's the 650 Fifth Avenue case, the building that was owned by the Iranian mullahs after the Shah left. And they've been deemed, Bank Melli of Iran, as a corporation, deemed terrorist entities by the United States Treasury Department. And it's crazy because this is where things get a little crazy for me. Okay? Alevi Foundation gave $105,000 to the Clinton Foundation, which partnered up with the Obama administration to their memorandum of understanding and putting Hillary Clinton at the Secretary of State's office. The Secretary of State she was. And they declared that both foundations, it was Katrina relief. I think that's a bunch of malarkey. Okay? I found out that three sources have claimed, and tax records, according to American Spectator, that Alevi Foundation gave at least $1.3 million to the Blind Cheeks Mosque. And that opens up another whole thing going on with the Blind Cheeks Mosque. We got this whole, the Blind Cheeks Mosque with the 650 Fifth Avenue case, the Blind Cheeks Mosque. We got Abu Halima, major perpetrator of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Mohammed Zalamed, he's another perpetrator of the World Trade Center bombing in 1993. Rami Youssef, the key perpetrator of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing that killed 4 Americans and wounded 100. And then his maternal uncle is Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who's considered one of the masterminds behind the September 11th unfortunate attacks of September 11, 2001, the World Trade Center, which killed thousands of Americans. Unfortunately, most horrific attack on American soil. Unconscionable. So we got that going on. Then, with all this going on, we got the Blind Sheik in Brooklyn. He's affiliated with the Jersey City Mosque, which was what Muhammad al-Nudi. Muhammad al-Nudi has recently died. But prior to that, in the early 1990s and early 2000s, he worked closely with the Blind Sheik. And the Blind Sheik was and Muhammad al-Nuni from the Jersey City Mosque, and this gentleman named Musa Abu Mazouk, number 2 in Hamas. They were involved in the Holy Land Foundation. They founded it, they funded it, and they got into this whole thing. The Holy Land Foundation trial is with Hamas financing, and these 3 entities: CARE, Council of American Islamic Relations; ISNA, Islamic Society of North America; and NAIT, North American Islamic Trust. These 3 entities there were unindicted co-conspirators in the biggest money laundering scheme for terror in this nation's history. 246 Muslim Brotherhood front organizations, CARE, ISNA, NAIT, and individuals were, according to court papers and a judge's decision, ample evidence proving through FBI surveillance, wiretaps, wire transfers, body wires, the whole thing. Laura Burns' testimony unequivocally proves them to be guilty of money laundering for terror to the Sakat committees, all the way down to the Hamas. Now, what's crazy is, and we talk about this every week, that Holder and the Obama Justice Department dropped the charges. There was some indictments before they got into office, and then it came before then, I think in 2010, and they dropped the charges. A big letter was written by, I'm not supporting the gentleman, but he did write a letter to Eric Holder, Peter King. He's on the Homeland Security Committee. He's a senior member, Congressman King, and he wrote a letter to Eric Holder. Why did you drop the charges? And obviously, Congressman Louis Gohmert from Texas, who's in charge of the oversight, he's one of them, and he's one of the senior members in the oversight committee. I mean, he grilled Eric Holder about why did you drop the charges? Why did you drop the charges of the Holy Land Foundation trial? Very, very, very questionable. I mean, the judgment, it could have helped us garner more information that we've already garnered about these Muslim Brotherhood infiltration into this nation. And it's big with the Holy Land Foundation trials, all over it. And guess what? Like we discussed earlier, the Hamas-Iranian connection. So basically, all this money going to Hamas, is it going to Iran? Right? I don't know. Because we know this much. According to Congressional Research Service, Washington Free Beacon, tens of millions of dollars goes from Iran to Hamas, and weapons, rockets too. So that is the definition of an Iranian surrogate. Absolutely. So that's interesting. Crazy. No, it's crazy. So now we got the in addition, with this Hamas financing, we spoke about the Yemen Sheik from the Blind Sheik's Mosque, the Yemen Sheik with the illegal. We had the money laundering with the 650 Fifth Avenue case and the Holy Land Foundation trial, and we got this illegal money transmitting with the Yemen Sheik. Millions of dollars to Al Qaeda, millions of dollars to Hamas from the Blind Sheik's Mosque, and we got the Brooklyn ice cream parlor ring, which was came out of the Irani ring, and this gentleman, owner of this ice cream parlor, had a $21 million in his bank account from an ice cream parlor on the corner of Flatbush and Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn. And the FBI did their investigation. They found that 10 feeder accounts was put in $21 million into this Brooklyn ice cream parlor on Flatbush Avenue and Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn. And it went out to 16 different countries, to the 16 different terrorist entities. Crazy stuff. And then we got and we spoke about the money laundering at 650 Fifth Avenue and the Holy Land Foundation trial. So I think we touched upon everything over here. Very cool. Oh, and now, and I'm going to close this out. What I find troubling with this whole thing, and it's a couple of things. Firstly, Alevi Foundation, CARE, Council of American Islamic Relations, ISNA, Islamic Society of North America, and North American Islamic Trust are able, though they're involved and connected in the greatest money laundering schemes for terror in this nation's history, they escaped they escaped the designation of terrorist entities and sanctions and blocking of property to some extent. I know 650 Fifth Avenue, the Iranian mullahs tried to appeal, and up until 2014, and they weren't successful. The property is still under the jurisdiction of the United States government, the $500 million property on 53rd Street, Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. But the Alevi Foundation, CARE, ISNA, and NAIT are able to function within the United States jurisdiction. Crazy stuff, right? To take it a step further, last week I spoke about on my live show Paul Sperry, I'm trying to pronounce it right. Paul Sperry of the Hoover Institute is a fellow there, author of Infiltration: How Muslim Spies and Subversives Have Penetrated Washington. Blind Faith is the name of the article in the New York Post, July 26, 2015. What do many Islamic terrorists in the United States have in common? They all attended mosques run by the same group, and authorities don't seem interested in finding out why. Just to give you an idea, property records show the mosque attended by the terrorists who killed 4 Marines and a sailor at a base in Chattanooga, Tennessee, is affiliated with the same Islamic group as the mosque patronized by the Boston Marathon bombers and 9/11 hijackers who attacked the Pentagon. Yet federal investigators have dismissed any possibility that the Tennessee mosque was a source of radicalization or support for the terrorist Mohammed Youssef. This is right in the article by Paul Sperry. The trustee of the Islamic Society of Greater Chattanooga, like the Boston and Virginia mosques attended by other terrorists, is the North American Islamic Trust. Now, just to gloss over this, and then we're going to close this out. In 2007, the Justice Department designated NAIT, North American Islamic Trust, as an unindicted co-conspirator in the largest terrorist financing case in America's history, U.S. versus Holy Land Foundation, which resulted in convictions, imprisonment of several U.S.-based Hamas terrorist leaders. Current NAIT chairman Sadie also appears on a government's co-conspirator list. Other records detail money flowing through NAIT to Hamas, and the same exhibits from the trial. The Justice Department lists NAIT and Sadie among members of the U.S. Muslim Brotherhood, along with NAIT's parent, Islamic Society of North America, from which Islamic Society of Greater Chattanooga derives its name. Now, just to move this a little further along, now, to understand other mosques controlled by the NAIT, Islamic Society of Boston, where a dozen terrorists have worshipped, including marathon bombers, and most recently, ISIS-inspired terrorists who plotted to behead Boston cops. Islamic Community Center of Phoenix, where worshippers included 2 ISIS terrorists who attacked a Dallas area event and planned to shoot up the Super Bowl. And the Dar al-Raji Islamic Center, where some of the 9/11 hijackers worshipped and got help obtaining IDs and housing, falling on the heels of the Fort Hood shooter and several other terrorists who have attended the mosque just outside of Washington. And I'm going to conclude with this. The NAIT holds title to more than 300 mosques and has helped finance more than 500 Islamic centers in America. So the imams of these mosques contend that hatred isn't preached. Really? Could have fooled us all, right? Craziness. But is it enough? According to Paul Sperry, but is it enough for law enforcement just to take their word on it? We can't let political correctness spare these mosques due scrutiny. Great article, Blind Faith by Paul Sperry, New York Post, Hoover Institute. He's a media fellow. Great stuff. So the question I have, and I want to talk about next week, we got CARE, we got ISNA, we got the North American Islamic Trust, we got Alevi Foundation, all were involved in the biggest money laundering schemes for terror in this nation's history. Yet, these entities, unindicted co-conspirators, they were allowed to escape persecution and allowed to flourish within the jurisdiction of the United States, which enables them to continue their terrorist ways against this nation, I believe. And we're gonna move on that next week as well. I just want to say thank you so much. This is Frankie Russo, show number 81. It looks good. The audio looks good. Remember, you got to join America's team. Get a T-shirt. RussoNation.tv. America's Team.today. Join America's team and get a T-shirt. This is the Frankie Russo show. Yeah, pre-show number 81. We're moving. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I think the audio is cool. It looks good on the computer. I'll see you all in about a half hour. Live at 77 WABC. Yeah. Frankie Russo pre-show number 81. Yeah.